Thank you for joining us for the last Dharma talk for August and probably also the summer, quote-unquote summer. Next weekend is Labor Day weekend, and traditionally Buddhist Church of Oakland takes off Labor Day weekend, and I think I'm going to do that this year too. Our next service will be the week after that, which is traditionally the start of the Dharma school year, and also our Shotsuki for September, and so we'll be back for that. Now, I've been talking about Buddhist values over the summer, and just to summarize really quick, wisdom and compassion as our ideal, our ultimate goal, and the three poisons as what is negative in life and causes a lot of difficulties to oneself and others. And so aiming for wisdom to see things as they truly are, which is part of awakening of the Buddha, but also compassion. Selfless giving, like dana and the 6 paramitas, right? Trying to help others, even just friendliness, kindness. That's what we're aiming towards. So we don't live in a vacuum of no values whatsoever. That Buddhism wants to see things as they truly are. Buddha wants us to see things as they truly are, and encourages us to be kind and compassionate. And what causes us problems are the 3 poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. And so, ultimate goal, what's wrong and what causes harm. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the middle way. I've talked about it before, but I don't think I've really talked about it on YouTube yet. Maybe I have, but maybe I'll talk about it in kind of a different way. The middle way, or the middle path, comes from the Biography of the Buddha. And as we may know, Shakyamuni Buddha was born a prince, and his father wanted him to take over the kingdom, and so his father shielded him from any hardship, difficulty, right? And he grew up living a life of just pleasure. But he realizes as an adult that this can't be what life is all about, and so he leaves the kingdom, renounces his throne, and embarks on a spiritual quest. It includes some meditation at the beginning, but then it becomes more a path of asceticism, which is a kind of fancy word. It's practices of kind of self-denial or even self-torture, like limiting one's diet to the absolute bare minimum. These kind of difficult practices that I think are even performed by some people in India today. And he does it for several years with a group of other practicers. But at some point he realizes maybe he's even close to death. And realizes, I can't do this anymore. This can't be the way. And he remembers, yes, my life of pleasure, that was an extreme, but my life now of self-denial is an extreme too. And so he awakens to the middle way between those extremes. So that those extremes are something we want to try and identify, right? And this middle way between extremes is one way we can be Buddhist. Right, to try and walk the middle way. And so it's really flexible, I think, in a lot of ways. And it allows us to, whatever we're going through, we don't have to be born a prince and then give it all away and become ascetics to understand this. Right, that it can be applied to anything in our life. And we can try and walk this middle way. Another place it happens, I won't go too deep, but Nagarjuna, who is one of the 7 masters of Jodo Shinshu and also one of the kind of early exponents of Mahayana Buddhism, he talks about emptiness, a kind of Buddhist doctrinal innovation of emptiness. And emptiness, basically all things are empty. And this was actually terrifying to Europeans, I think, several centuries ago, because they thought it was nihilistic and they thought it sounded like nothingness. But it's actually not nothingness. It's a middle way between the extremes of existence and non-existence. Existence, or u in Japanese, arimasu, right? Something exists, fundamentally exists in and of itself. Non-existence, or mu, is that nothing exists, right? Or this thing absolutely does not exist. The reality is in between. Right? It's not that things exist in and of themselves. If we think that, then we're clinging to the extreme of existence. But to say that nothing exists isn't right either. Things do exist, but not in and of themselves. They exist in relationship with other things. That's interconnectedness. Okay? So this idea of middle way is one way that we can see, not related at all to Shakyamuni Buddha's life story, right? But it's more a doctrinal kind of innovation to understand reality. Right? And that's part of wisdom, to awaken to this reality of emptiness. So I wanted to talk a little bit about two Japanese terms, two Japanese ways of living, ways to live your life. One is shoganai, and the other is gambaru. Okay, shoganai, gambaru, or gambatte. Now, shoganai or shikataganai is kind of saying, what can you do? There's nothing to be done. Shoganai, I guess I gotta live with this. Right? Maybe you tried to do, enter a contest. How's that? I entered a contest to get some electronic thing the other day, right? And if I lose, shoganai, so many other people entered the contest. The chances are really slim that I'll win. So shoganai, it's okay. Shikataganai. What can be done? Right? Now, of course, we might apply that to other areas of life and more important areas of life than winning a contest, maybe. And actually, if it becomes an extreme, oh man, it's too hard. I give up. That becomes an extreme, right? And shoganai, I think, isn't meant to be just giving up. Maybe when it becomes an extreme, we got to pull away from that extreme. So the other side would be gambaru or gambatte. If I knew someone who had given up, I might say, gambatte, you can do it. Try again. Keep trying. I know you can do it. Gambatte. Right? Gambaru is to persevere, to try and make it work. Right? And so that can also be an extreme, though. Right? Sometimes we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and trying so hard, we might even be hurting ourselves, right? Maybe creating too much stress in our life, or an expression is to bang your head against the wall because you just, it's not working, but you can't stop. Well, if you're banging your head against a wall, that's an extreme, right? If you're causing yourself harm, that's an extreme, and maybe you need to pull back from there too. Maybe we need to accept shoganai. There's some things we just can't change. Again and again, though, back and forth, right? Between just giving up and just pushing so hard and yet maybe not fixing anything. So, middle way, right? Recognizing, these are two extremes, and maybe I have to try and walk this middle path between these two. There's another expression that's related to gambatte, I think. It sounds similar, but actually I'm not sure how related they are. Gaman. Or gaman, right? There's two pronunciations of it. I think in English, a lot of people say gaman, but I think in Japanese it would be more gaman, with the emphasis on the first syllable. This gaman, there's a book called Art of Gaman, connected to the internment camps and art that people did in there, right? And so this idea of gaman, I looked it up in dictionary as patience, endurance, perseverance, tolerance, self-control, even self-denial. So it's really interesting, this term gaman. It almost seems like maybe gaman is a kind of in-between shoganai and gambatte, right? That recognizing that circumstances maybe are beyond my control, so just kind of have to accept that this is the way it is, and yet persevere, not give up, to gaman, right? So this term gaman is interesting, but actually it's kind of a technical term originally in Buddhism, to mean pride of self or arrogance, because ga is self and man is pride, right? So interesting how this kind of negative term in Buddhism of gaman as pride in oneself becomes in the kind of everyday Japanese language more this kind of persevering. So interesting. I think gaman can go too far too, and I saw, like, for instance, there was a BBC article about gaman in Japan from about last year, and kind of interesting to see it. It can go too far if you just expect to gaman all the time, and so you're putting you're submerging your own desires, your own happiness, your own health right? If you gaman too much, it can become an extreme. I think anything can become an extreme in out of balance. Right? And that's what I like about the middle way, is that it is a way to try and find balance in one's life, right? Between extremes. And we aren't always aware that we are going to an extreme, right? So I think that's part of the battle in a way, right? Is to realize, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm pushing this too far. Maybe I'm not pushing enough. I've given up, right? And we can kind of find these extremes in our life. This came up for me. Maybe it's not quite related, but it's been a rough couple weeks. I mentioned a week or two ago when the fires had started, and I think it was 2 Tuesdays ago maybe, and it was bad, right? We had almost 7 full days of really bad air quality and smoke, and it was hot too, right? We had the heat wave going on at the same time. That was kind of frightening. You can't open your windows because of the smoke, but then the heat from outside and the sun made my house so hot. Finally, it was just like, we just gotta open the windows. We're gonna die from heat stroke before we die from asphyxiation. So, so that was a middle way we had to find too, right? Of these two it was catch-22, right? There was no right choice there, it seemed like, but you had to make a choice. So it was interesting when the fresh air finally came, when the smoke finally broke, and just, I remember before that happened, just thinking, man, I don't know if I can live in California anymore. If this is going to just keep happening like this, is it time to go somewhere else? Right? And I think a lot of people are feeling like that, but where are you going to go? Anyway, I just remember thinking that, right? I don't know how many more times we can put up with this. When the air cleared up and I went outside, it cooled off like by 10, 15 degrees. And I was like, oh, this is why I love this place, right? Just realizing, wow, that it's so beautiful when the air is clear and when the temperature is mild, even though it's August, right? Okay, yeah, this is why I love this area, right? And the climate. And then the smoke came back, right? So that was kind of upsetting. And yet realized when this air was fresh, I was like, oh yeah, I love this, right? This is weather that I love. And wow, I love fresh air, right? To be reminded of that. To realize, wow, the earth is really, we are at an extreme here where how much more can the earth take, right? That, we really have to take care of the environment, and I think we can't just give up and let ourselves destroy the earth, right? And just that reminder of how beautiful the fresh air was. Not everyone got it. Right? Not everyone got fresh air, and the smoke didn't just evaporate, right? It went inland. And so I feel bad for people that are in areas where the smoke went to, right? I feel really bad for people who had to evacuate their homes and who even lost their homes, right? Or even lost their lives with these fires. It's been a rough year, huh? And so, we have to face the reality of it, and yet also not get too upset about it. That's really hard balance to strike, right? Is there a middle way that we can find here? It's for each one of us, right? And maybe it's not something I can do by myself. I need to talk to friends. I need to talk to family. Ultimately, Namo Amida Butsu, right? Recite the name of the Buddha. Say the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. When it's difficult, right? And we're just, it's driving us nuts. Namandab, namandab, namo amida butsu, right? When, wow, the fresh air, wow, this is great. Namandab, 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 right? Namo amida butsu is an expression for any time, no matter what we're going through, whether it's to try and help get us through the difficult times or to appreciate more deeply the good times, right? That any time we're in, we can say the Nembutsu to be reminded of Buddha's benevolence, right? To remember to try and be mindful of myself and to try and aspire for that goals of wisdom and compassion. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you're doing okay and you're able to gambaru, to gaman, right? Gambatte kudasai, please hang in there. I know things are difficult. I hope we can get together again. It's easier when we have Sangha and we can be together, and we don't even have that, right? Man, difficult times, but realizing how difficult they are, I think, can help too. So again, thank you. Please take care. You can go to the website, BuddhistChurchOfOakland.org, for updates and information. We do have some events coming up. We are going to have a music event online with Okinawan music, and that'll be announced really soon. And also hope to have a Zoom service at the end of September where we can kind of do it all together at the same time, even if we're not in the same place. Okay, so let's conclude with Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda.